Hello everyone, GM Admiral here, and I had a really great idea today that I wanted to share with everyone. As you all know, Lazarus Rising Games has gotten the rights to produce OverPower, the card game, and they're going to Kickstarter next month with this. And so there are some really excited people out there. I'm one of them. And there are some people that ask questions about how do we build a community back for a game that disappeared 20 years ago. Well, there's always been a core group of players that have been doing tournaments for Overpower ever since. It was originally canceled after the X-Men set. And actually, some of the people that are in that group are the ones that are relaunching it under this new company name, Lazarus Rising Games. But I had some ideas, and we need to think about the game in general for what it's going to be. It's almost like we're building a community from scratch, right? And I know that those of us who are currently playing the game still and doing tournaments and things like that are really into the cutthroat tournament play, and not even cutthroat, but just like, the intense tournament play, maximizing our deck's values and things like that. And if you go to Mark Rosewater, who is one of the people that works on Magic the Gathering, he'll tell you that less than 1% of the people who play Magic the Gathering actually play in tournaments. And I think that these are the people that we need to focus on if we want to keep Overpower around into the future and to build a community with. So how can we focus on helping those people remember the game or get into the game or something like that as we move forward? And you all have been out looking for cards and collections and things like that, and now might not be the best time to purchase all that stuff because collections are spiking right now as people hear that there's a Kickstarter coming up. So you might not get the best value out of it. But those of you that have lots of collections and lots of old cards, especially stuff from the original set, there's a couple of quick things that we can do for new players that would be a very fun way to like bring them into the game. Like, we know that Jubilee was in a starter set or a starter pack back when the original game came out. So these cards are very easy to come by. They don't have a ton of value. I mean, even Jean Grey, same idea, right? This 9 strength, that would be a great card for anyone, but it doesn't carry a ton of value because it was in a starter deck and there are tons of them out there. So this is for people that have a decent collection of stuff that is just kind of sitting around, taking up space in a box. So to build a community, so there might be people. Obviously, I'm hoping that your shop is going to take advantage of the retail tiers for the Kickstarter. However, there are people that are just normal players that are probably going to take advantage of it as well. So what do you do between October and February, March, April when the cards actually start to ship? And that's really where you need to sustain the interest in the game. So here's one way to do it. What I've decided to do for my local game shop is to start creating decks. Starter decks for people that have either never heard of the game or have used to play the game way back in the day, but then got out of it when IQ dropped, things like that. And the key for making these decks and getting people interested in them is to make them familiar to new players. So I've done this for Magic the Gathering forever, right? If I put an elf deck out on the shelf or a vampire deck or something like that, people that see that know and understand that, especially if they have a connection to the game of Magic already. We sell those decks hands over fist. Like all the time people come in to see if we have new decks. So I started going through, I bought a couple of collections recently, spent about $400 on some new cards and got some good stuff, but like also, a bunch of little real common stuff too. So this is Stark Enterprises, right? Everybody knows who Tony Stark is. Everybody knows who Iron Man is. And you can build a team from this with some cheaper cards. you can build it with some expensive cards, right? You look at Scarlet Witch, you look at Captain America. Those cards have some value right now, right? Especially if you're looking at their old 3-stat character cards. You're still looking at more than $2 or $3 for the character card, right? At Scarlet Witch, you're looking at $10 to $15 for 3 different specials. So Captain America has a couple of specials as well that have spiked. So if you have the old 3-stat Hawkeye, Iron Man, Spider-Woman, and War Machine, you can put together a deck that people are familiar with. Now the key here is this doesn't have to be a competitive deck. This should be a theme deck that should be fun and give the players a chance to experience all the characters. So I went through and decided I would put together this deck here. It is not greatly aligned with character stats. However, Stark Enterprises makes it a fairly decent little team here. Like Hawkeye can't be cumulative KO'd with energy. War Machine can't be cumulative KO'd with fighting. Wonder Woman can't be cumulative KO'd with fighting. It gets even better if people build upon this and go into 4 stats. We'll talk more about that soon. Okay. So I just went through my basic. Like, this card isn't the greatest. Teammate may avoid 1 energy attack of 9 or less. But you know what? People who are just casually playing around their table at home while they're having a few drinks and having snacks and things like that, they might get into this, right? This might be a fun card to learn placement rules with. Draw a card. I got one of these War Machine 8 multis that I put in there. That might be like a $2 card. That might be the most expensive card in the deck. Actually, the Iron Man character might be. Just a couple of the basic specials, right? And then look at this. Oh, hey, some Wonder Woman avoids. So this, Spider Woman avoids. This kind of gets them into a feel for like what some tournament play might be like, right? We know that Spider Woman is heavily played as a reserve character, and now they might get a feel for that. Iron Man, of course, you want to give them cards that are fun, but not necessarily the most valuable cards too, right? I don't have any extras of the 8 multi for Iron Man, for example, so I didn't put him in this deck. But make an additional attack, avoid 1 attack, draw a card. Target hero must discard 1 place card of Iron Man's choice. That's really, really good. 4 combined with 1 energy. This is one of those attacks that can get up to an 11. If there are intellect special cards that they have, try to work them in, right? Because they don't have intellect on their character cards, but they could still get a Spectrum KO using those specials. Hawkeye, we know his standard loadout as well. Put a little bit more than 6. Because there's no 8 stat characters here, you're going to notice the deck runs a little bit light. So you might want to put 7 specials per frontline character instead of the standard kind of thought of 6. I am putting missions and events in here. They are a little bit more complicated, but people can look up the rules online. Or if you have a little rule book, like a mission control, monumental rule book, throw it in there as well. I chose the crossing. Why? Because Iron Man's on the first little card here. And he's on a couple of these. So it's really an Iron Man focused story. Stark Enterprises, right? I said we want to be thematic, right? I only put 3 of the events in there. I just randomly grabbed 3 that I have the most of. And the other cool thing about this is, because you want people to learn the game, it's okay to put in some cards that you might not normally put into a deck, especially if you're doing a tournament, right? So I put in a couple of universe cards, basic universe cards. It can even be a +1 or a +2. Doesn't have to just be the +3s. We know the +3s are the best. But just throw them in there so they get a chance to experiment with them. Put a couple of allies in there as well, so they can experiment with them. Just ones that I had a bulk amount of, right? Someone learning the game isn't going to be too worried about that. They just want to be able to power out their special cards. Of course, some of the old teamworks, a couple of old trainings, right? And this is a great place to put your 3 multi-powers or your multi-power cards that only have the 3 stats. So just standard. I put 3 of every power level in here, again, because decks end up a little bit light. I did put these 7 fightings in here. These are harder to find, but they do come in the starter decks, so they're not super difficult to find like some of the later sets are. And the 7 strength and 7 energies are really easy to find, so I would put those in there just to balance things out. And I'm going to put this on the shelf. I'm going to put it out as $15. I'm also going to print off a OverPower Lives little display to put with them and see if we can get any interest, right? If I get people talking about the game even before the Kickstarter starts, that gives us a chance to build a community from essentially scratch, right? It allows us to jumpstart that information or jumpstart that community. Now, you can absolutely give them 4-stat heroes as well. Like if you got a bunch of them, like a lot of the classic had a ton of common characters. You could pull some of them out and put them in. I would recommend trying to do just a home base. I wouldn't do a battle site. I probably wouldn't even put any characters in here either, just because I think that's the next level for them. And if you don't have an appropriate battle site, it's okay to also just make a strength deck, right? I was looking at doing a deck at putting Punisher and Hawkeye together because they both had 7 fightings. You can do that as well. I'm going to try to stick to home bases and see if that makes a stronger connection to the player base. If these stall out, I might try to do a more balanced, hey, here are all X-Men energy characters and things like that. So yeah, I think that this is a great way to start building a community. Maybe your local game shop has a bunch of common OverPower cards somewhere. Ask them to look through it. Take an hour to see if you can throw a couple of decks together and see if people start buying into it. This is going to be big. We just want to be able to sustain it. So, all right, that's about all that I have right now. I'll probably put a few more decks up that I'm going to work on this evening to share with you all at some point in time. But for now, this is, I think, an idea that we can all roll with as a community and start really, really getting some more people involved even before the Kickstarter starts. That's all I got for you. Take care.